Good morning.
Good morning.
So nice to see all of you. Welcome to Second Unitarian Church. My name is Claire Gervasi, and my pronouns are they and them, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees here at the church. Today, we are in person at the Admiral at the Lake, the 2U Sanctuary, and continuing to meet virtually on Zoom. We ask everyone's indulgence for the complications of a three-part service. We're glad that you're here, whichever way you're attending. If you're in the sanctuary and would benefit from hearing assistance, we have devices available. Please see our tech team in the back. Oh, look, you're so happy and cute. We are currently seeing both a national and global surge in COVID numbers. We encourage people to wear masks during the service. This practice prevents transmission of the virus and helps us center the needs of those who are most vulnerable. We especially welcome newcomers and visitors this morning. Finding a new community and making new connections can be challenging. Please know that we're excited to have you and look forward to getting to know you. If you're new to us today, please note that in the Zoom chat or mention it in person during conversation after the service. If you would like, there are blue mugs you can use during coffee hour to signal to others that you would like them to come up and say hello. We also always need people in the kitchen after coffee hour, and that's a great place to see old friends and make new ones. Our worship today is led by Reverend Jason Lydon, along with Sue Burke as worship associate. Music this morning is provided by Rosalind Hurwitz, Kristen Close, Tom Close, Jonathan Dunmore, Don McGregor, Diane Sander, and Thais Braslavsky. Our time together requires a large group of people who make possible the worship, the music, and the technical production. They are listed in the order of service, and we thank them for their ongoing service to our congregation. I have a couple of announcements this morning. Following service today, we will have our worship associate training in the sanctuary. Please get coffee or snacks and then come back to the sanctuary for time to reflect on what our worship services mean and how we facilitate the experience as worship associates. If you're interested in being in the pulpit, shaping the time we share together, please attend. I'm having trouble because in the last 6 months, I've realized that I need bifocals. I'm so old, you guys. Okay, I am choosing to see the words. Okay. Next Sunday, we will kick off our next new member class. If you've been attending services and are curious about becoming a full member, we would love to have you. This is a 3-week series, and the first class is led by Reverend Jason. Please also sign up for our spirituality discussion groups. These are groups that gather monthly to discuss the themes we reflect on together during Soul Matters curriculum throughout the month. These groups are a great way to get to know a few other people at the church more intimately and build deeper connections within the congregation. You can sign up via the form in the Anvil, our bi-monthly newsletter, or at the welcome table in the Palmer Room. All are encouraged to participate. The 2U Family Choir will return on Sunday, February 4th. Family Choir is a Sunday morning drop-in choir led by Carl Kennedy that welcomes all ages and musical experience. We will meet at 9 a.m. before the service on February 4th. Learn some fun music and perform in the service that same day. If you have any questions, please reach out to Carl Kennedy at musicdirector@secondunitarian.org. I now welcome Sue Burke to lead us in our call to worship.
We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation, a community of children, youth, and adults, a people of many beliefs and traditions bound not by the specific list of things we believe, but by the values we share. Whether you are joining us for the first time or the 1000th time, You are welcome here. Whether you believe in God some of the time, all of the time, or none of the time, you are welcome here. Whatever your race, whomever you love, whichever way you move in the world, however much money is in your pocket, you are welcome here. I invite you now, when you are ready, to take a breath in and out. And as the music begins, let us enter into our service together.
In just a moment, Zella here in the sanctuary and Harris at the Admiral will light our chalices, the symbol of our faith. And we light our chalices this morning with these words from James Baldwin. Love takes off the masks that we fear we cannot live without and know we cannot live within. May the flame kindle within us the spirit and power to remove the masks we wear and to make room for love to flourish. Perfect. Thank you, Zella. Please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing our opening hymn, number 1009, Meditation on Breathing. This is a hymn in 3 parts, and you're welcome to stay on one part or move to others as they enter, and however you feel so moved.
Please remain as you risen and join me in reciting our covenant. We covenant to build a community that challenges us to grow and empowers us to honor the truth within ourselves. We will be generous with our gifts and honest in our communication, holding faithful to a love that embraces both diversity and conflict. Called by our living tradition, we will nurture spirituality within a division of the eternal, living out our inner convictions through struggles for justice and acts of compassion.
Please join in singing Spirit of Life.
All the stirrings of are young in body or spirit, up to the front to join me for the time for all ages. Great to see you all. You can take a seat right up here, right in front of me. Okay. This month, the theme of our congregation that we're talking about a lot is love. Such an important, powerful theme. And today, we're focusing on self-love. So I'm going to read you a little poem, and then I'm going to ask you all to think about some things that you love about yourselves. This poem is called "The Day I Decided to Become Sunshine." The day I decided to become sunshine in my own world, everything changed. I decided to shine my little light into the darkest corners of my community. I decided to be a light by holding a door open for others to come through. And to shine the light of kindness into my every move. The day I decided to become sunshine, I felt like I could change the world. So this poem has to do with the speaker's ability to shine light on the world and the people around them. So I want you to think about, what is something that you love about yourself? And it can be something that pertains to how you relate to the people around you or in your community, like in this poem, or it can be something totally different. So take a moment to think about it, and I'll share a couple of mine, sort of as examples. So one thing that I love about myself is that I'm a really loyal and consistent friend. Oops, sorry. I touched this because I have no pocket to put it in. So when I make a friend, I'm that person's friend forever. So many of my best friends I met when I was a little kid. And even if we don't live in the same city, or even if we don't see each other all the time, I keep in touch. I make sure I stay connected with people. So that's something that I love about myself, my loyalty as a friend. Now that's something that's a bit more abstract, like a character trait. You can and must also love things about yourself that can be more superficial. So I'm going to give an example. I'm a runner, and I love that my legs are powerful and strong and can make me move quickly. So that's another example. Oh yeah, that's awesome. Oh really? Wow. So I'd love to hear from a couple of you. What is something that you love about yourself? Stella, start us off.
I'm a really powerful reader.
A powerful reader, I love that. That's so great. Marion, share with us.
I'm really good at ballet.
Really good at ballet. That is fantastic. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else have one? Yes, go ahead, Malachi.
So, I really like my new book that I got from the library.
Yeah? You love the new book that you got from the library? That's awesome. And that's a love for a book, but maybe that can translate into something you love about yourself, that you love that you are excited about books, perhaps? Don't want to put words in your mouth, but yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing. June, go ahead.
I don't know, my problem is special, my socks is special.
That's so great. Yeah, so things that you have in your life that are special to you. And I think sometimes it's easier to think of things that we love that are more external, and I want to continue encouraging you guys as you move into Sunday school today and beyond, things that are like specific and individual to you that you really love. But before we move on, I'll pause for just another moment if anyone else would like to share. You want to go again, Zella? Go ahead.
I think I'm good at sharing my emotions. I don't know, that depends on other people, how other people feel about it too.
Good at sharing your emotions. That's a really challenging one for many adults and kids. Yes, Marion, go ahead.
I'm really, really into music. That's something.
Yes, you love your passion for music. That is so great. All right, go ahead, June. Yeah.
My mom is like a talent, but my mom is gonna come back when
It's okay.
my goes down.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing, June. Lumir, Siobhan, no pressure, but would you like to share?
I really love reading big chapters.
Love reading big chapter books. Thank you for sharing, Siobhan. Lumi, you want to share anything? No? Okay. All right. So keep in mind that message of self-love. It's so essential and empowering to notice the things that we love about ourselves, whether they're more abstract or a bit more superficial, which is also important to love. All right, my friends. Yeah.
I also love my music flair.
Your music flair, I love that. That was such a great note to close us on. Thank you for sharing, Malachi. All right, my friends, let's head downstairs to RE. Let's sing the children to their classes.
Each year, we as members make a commitment, a pledge to support the ministry of this, our church. In addition to this contribution that we make each year, we also take a collection on Sunday mornings so that we can share with those who are doing justice work well beyond our walls. This is the time in the service where it's appropriate to take your phone out and you can follow the text instructions that are in your order of service or that will be on the screen during the offertory. For the month of January, we are sharing our plate with the Liberation Library, and we've heard a little bit about their work already. Do we, tech team, have somebody online who's planning to speak with us? We do not. Okay. A little confusion in communication with our friends at Liberation Library, but just to remind you what we have heard so far is that this is an organization that makes it so that young people who are incarcerated in our state can get access to books. Many of you know that I spent a bit of time in prison myself, and receiving books was one of the most important things about taking care of myself during my incarceration. Reading is a life-saving practice for folks who are locked up. And so as you are thinking about this ministry and the work that this organization is doing, I want you to imagine how impactful books are in your life and what it might be like if you were inside a prison cell and how you might pass your time to take care of yourself. So think about that as you are making your contribution today. Oh, please, Claire has some words.
Sorry, I have volunteered with Liberation Library, and I just wanted to let everybody know that one of the reasons funding is so important is that only new books are sent to the children. So they don't get secondhand books, they get beautiful new literature, and they have like stacks and stacks of really great books for kids. So just wanted to put that out there. It's important to give people beautiful things, especially children.
Well, please join me in reading the offertory words. This church is the community of ourselves. Its energy and resources are our energy and resources. Its wealth is what we share. As we contribute to the life of this community, we affirm it and enable its participation in the larger world around us.
want to invite you to join me in the spirit of prayer or meditation. Let's begin by breathing together. Take some breaths in and out. Root yourself in this space. Maybe feel your feet on the floor, your back against your chair. Notice your beautiful, sacred body and rest. We begin always in thanks. Thankful for the breath in our lungs, the beauty of our earth, and the strength of this, our beloved community. We hold in our hearts those who care for family in ill health, those who live with grief or chronic pain, those struggling with addiction or illness, seen and unseen. We are with you. For parents and teachers and all those whose primary spiritual practice is caring for children, we are with you. Pray for our neighbors in prison, for those who are struggling to stay afloat in the midst of poverty, for migrants who are fleeing and seeking, finding new homes in our city amongst many. We are with you. Pray for all those living in harm's way, especially those navigating gun violence. Pray for our planet and commit to work that will lead us away from the harms of climate chaos. As war continues in so many places, we pray that wisdom, compassion, and empathy guide the leaders of our world. May they and we be instruments of a just and lasting peace. Our lives are truly blessed by those who knowingly, with curiosity and courage, face their final days. Into this, our shared silence across space, I invite you now to speak aloud the names of anyone you wish to lift up into the loving support of our community. With our deepest compassion, let us hold in our hearts those named and unnamed, those remembered and those forgotten. Let it be so. Amen and blessed be. During our ritual of lighting candles for joys and concerns, we want to continue to maintain our safety with one another. In the 2U sanctuary, in a moment, I will invite you to come forward and light a candle. As you end your time of contemplation and candle lighting, I invite you to use the hand sanitizer that's available. For those of us at the Admiral, I invite you to come forward and take a pebble from one bowl, hold it tightly in your hand, putting your energy into the stone, and then knowing your joys and sorrows to be shared by this community, let it go lightly into the other bowl. For those of us on Zoom, please join by sharing your joys and concerns in our chat window. And I will light a candle here to represent your celebrations and sorrows. We hold all of these, our shared joys, celebrations, sorrows, and concerns close to our hearts. Sue, would you share our first reading, please?
Our first reading this morning is an excerpt from UU theologian Rebecca Parker's essay, A Home for Love. Throughout the history of liberal theological anthropology, there runs a clear theme. Love is not a vertical relationship of obedient submission to a divine ruler. As the liberal theologian Walter Rauschenbusch wrote, we love and serve God when we love and serve our fellows. The powers of the soul enable connection and interaction with others. To be human is to be embedded in an intricate web of life. To be alive is to receive the world through all the channels of the senses, all the sensitive modes of feelings that are ours, and to respond with our own contribution. We give to life our touch, our word, our action, our embrace, our guidance, our acceptance, our censure, and our blessing. All living is in community and in connection with others. Love is what happens in the vibrant interchange among living beings and life forms. It is the experience of being drawn to one another, of interacting with each other to create happiness and joy, to labor to care for life's daily needs, to give refreshment to the soul. Love blesses the intersections along individual beings and the whole fabric of existence.
Thank you, Sue. Our second reading is written by T. de los Reyes. Sometimes when I glance outside the window and see the sun like a giant yoke sitting atop the clouds, I can almost understand why it's worth it. When I think of something funny and I start laughing until I'm crying, when I've eaten a good bowl of soup and I feel the warmth inside my body, when the rain falls gently and the fog moves in and the thunder feels more a murmur than a rumble, I think, yes, this will do. And when you call me beautiful and it gives me the sweetest ache, I remember that I do, love myself. Because I want to be here. Because I want all of this still. Let's hear our anthem. Thank you so much. That was beautiful, truly. Before I begin my sermon, I want to start with a brief acknowledgement of something that came up following service last Sunday. During our Time for All Ages, I made a joke at the expense of Alabama. This is a common practice for those of us progressives in the North, and it's unacceptable behavior. The South is full of beauty, strength, organizing, and collective power. Amidst the dominant conservatism of the area, there are people who have been struggling for generations to create an equitable and just Southern community. We've all been educated and transformed by the brilliance of Southern freedom fighters. I'm sorry for making a joke, and we'll do better. I'm grateful to the person who called me in following this joke, and it is this kind of feedback that both makes me better as a minister and allows me to be accountable for my actions. So let us all be attentive to our words and the impacts that they have. In our first reading this morning, we hear Unitarian Universalist theologian Rebecca Parker reflect on love within Unitarian Universalism. I'm particularly called by this sentence: love is what happens in the vibrant interchange among living beings and life forms. These words remind me of 20th century psychiatrist M. Scott Peck's definition of love. Peck writes, "Love is the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth." If we embrace these reflections, then we must understand love as relational. Love connects us deeply to ourselves and to all existence. Last week, we reflected on King's vision of love, his interpretations of agape as a transcendent love that embraces all with profound empathy and connection, even our enemies. This morning, I want to focus on a very specific kind of love. Not eros, not philia, not even agape, but philatia, love of the self. This is the love that reminds us that we cannot give to others from an empty cup. This is a love that reminds us that we are sacred just by existing. This love, like all healthy love, is a blessing. I want to share a short poem with you, this one from Rosemary Watola Tromer, entitled Misty. And sometimes when I move at the edge of a greatness, a lake or a sea or a mountainside, my insignificance thrills me. And the largest of my sadnesses dwindles smaller than the space between grains of sand. And in that moment, knowing my place, come to love so enormous, I can love anyone, even myself. Loving ourselves. Shouldn't this be an easy task? Looking in the mirror in the morning, shouldn't it be a joy and a blessing to smile at our reflections and say, "Hey, you gorgeous self, I love you"? We are indeed, each of us, magnificent embodiments of lovability. It is truly miraculous that we are here in this place, in these bodies, in this moment, living in this beautiful yet broken world. It is so incredibly unlikely that our atoms would come together to create our personhood, and yet they did. We are as amazing as we are unlikely. This uniqueness is worthy of love at all times. No matter what is going on, no matter what is happening in the world, no matter who likes us or not, no matter what our bodies look like, no matter what our productivity is, no matter anything, You are worthy of love from yourself right now. Now, it's going to feel a little bit silly, but we're going to try doing an embodied practice of self-love right now. It's okay if you're not actually feeling it. One of the things I have learned is that we are often unable to think ourselves into right action, but we can, with hope and practice, act ourselves into right thinking. What does this mean, you might ask? It can be harder to think ourselves out of desperations, but when we get up and take a walk, when we write in a gratitude journal, when we knit a scarf, we act our ways out of desperation. Little actions, repetitive actions, and really big actions can be transformative in our lives, breaking us out of unhelpful patterns. Our bodies like attention from us, and they deserve it. Our bodies give all kinds of signals about its needs. We feel hunger pains when we need food. We sweat when our bodies get hot and our bodies try to cool themselves down. We feel sleepy when our bodies need rest. Of course, there are those of us who are dysregulated in our bodies, and our bodies' messages can get confused for all kinds of reasons. Our bodies can hold our trauma. Our bodies can hold our hurts. Our bodies teach us lessons about what we need to survive. At times, our bodies might feel like our enemy. Even still, your body, just like every other part of you, is worthy of love. So let's try a little practice together. I want you to take your right hand and clasp your left bicep or forearm, whichever feels more comfortable for you. And while you're doing that, I want you to take your left hand and clasp your right bicep or forearm. And once both hands are placed, I want you to squeeze. Give yourself a good, tight squeeze. Hold for maybe 5 seconds, longer if you feel so moved. And breathe. Just keep breathing. You deserve to hug yourself. You deserve to feel the tightness of your arms wrapped around your body. You do not need to earn self-love. It may not always be easy to find. There are plenty of barriers that get in the way of our capacity to love ourselves, and we are still always deserving of this love, with no exceptions. How'd it feel to hug yourself? Maybe for some of you it felt silly. Maybe for others of you it was exactly what you needed this morning. For others still, it may be hard to do as you notice an aching in yourself that tells you that you are unworthy. I'm here to remind you that you are truly, truly worthy and deserving. Our faith teaches us that all people are sacred, that no one is outside the circle of love. Self-punishment, just like divine punishment, is anything but salvific. Unitarian Universalism does not do heresy, but if we did, conceptualizations that anyone could be excluded from love certainly would be one. I wonder if you might be thinking to yourself, sure, all this self-love is true for other people, but maybe not so true for me. For some reason or another, I am unworthy of love. I get it. I mean, really, I get it. I've joined you in just that same space. To be honest, I don't think self-love is a linear process where we don't have it, and then suddenly we do, and it sticks with us forever. No, I think for many of us, it's much more like a roller coaster with ups and downs, sometimes profound self-love, and other times maybe internalized shame, feelings of unworthiness. Many of us have been taught that we are difficult to love or unworthy of love. This message may have come from our families of origin who are unable or unwilling to see us as the sacred selves that we are. This message of unlivability may have come from systems of oppression like anti-Blackness, transphobia, fat phobia, or stigma around mental illness. Too often, many of us are given messages that we are unworthy of love simply because of some aspect of who we are. We then internalize it. It becomes shame, which we have reflected on shame before, and it can become toxic to that fountain of love that should be overflowing within us. Before I went to seminary school, I took part in clinical pastoral education at Beth Israel Hospital in Boston. CPE, as it's called, is a program for clergy and religious leadership to get experiences in the essential work of radical accompaniment through life's biggest, often most challenging moments. I was blessed to take part in this program when I was just 23 years old. At the time, I was serving as the congregational director at the Community Church of Boston, a humanist, Unitarian Universalist congregation in the heart of the city. While I was not yet ordained, I was performing the role of minister in the congregation. And I was searching for opportunities to gain greater skills to care for my aging congregation. I had performed 2 memorial services, and I felt unprepared for some of the responsibilities I had, despite the incredible support of my mentor, the late Reverend Dr. Hope Johnson. One of the floors in the hospital I was assigned to was for patients with brain injuries. I remember working closely with a woman who was relearning how to speak after a stroke. We'll call her Jane. She was a devout Christian and liked having the Bible read to her. It was always an honor and a privilege to read with her. She kept returning to the same passage in Mark that she reminded me also showed up in the book of Leviticus. Now, I am not one to quote the book of Leviticus. It's a text that has caused lots of harm over the generations, and yet there is at least one beautiful line that we see again in the Second Testament. I imagine you will recognize it. Given how many times we returned to it in my visits, I wrote the quote down on the whiteboard in her room: "Love your neighbor as yourself." For Jane, she was attached to the second part of this message. We even circled the words, "as yourself." She wanted to return to it and consider how she might love herself authentically as she journeyed back to health. This piece of scripture, which does show up in our Unitarian Universalist sources, presumes that we are good at loving ourselves. If we struggle to love ourselves, maybe it's harder to love our neighbor. That said, I actually have a bit of a quarrel with that assertion. Some of the most loving people in the world struggle with self-love. I find it somewhat unfair to suggest that one who struggles with depression, self-doubt, low self-esteem, or shame is inherently less capable of loving another. I'd encourage us to have more compassion, though, for those struggling with self-love. Not only compassion, but trust that they or we are able to shower others with a meaningful love, even while struggling to fully embrace self-love. I think it can be argued that we have an easier time loving others when we love ourselves. And in a justice sense, what we love for ourselves homes to live in, freedom from violence, food to eat, and so forth, we must absolutely love these same things for our neighbor. My quarrel is not intended to diminish the power of the message, but rather extend some generosity to those who feel unlovable. In our UU sources, the idea of loving one's neighbor as oneself is attributed to Jewish and Christian traditions alone. This is completely inaccurate. In fact, it is a concept that crosses many religious traditions, and not just religious traditions, but secular traditions. I want to highlight that it shows up in another Abrahamic faith, Islam. According to the Quran, the 13th hadith, the Prophet Muhammad says, "None of you will believe until you love for your brother what you love for yourself." Noshin Bakht, student of Islamic science, expounds upon this hadith. She writes, "The question of what do you love for yourself is seldom asked. Be that as it may, acts of loving yourself, maintaining your physical and mental self, do not in any way diminish or negate one's magnanimity." She goes on to write, "Partaking in activities that cause your heart to soar, cherishing your solitude, and offering your body rest does not constitute selfishness or egotism." Loving yourself, according to this vision within Islam, is anything but selfish. It is a necessary practice for living into one's faith. In fact, loving oneself celebrates God's love, what King would call agape. While writing this sermon, Microsoft Word continuously offered me synonyms for self-love that included selfishness, egotism, narcissism. Those are not synonyms for self-love. Loving yourself is a necessary expression of self-compassion, compassion emblemized by the power of the divine. The divine may not, for you, translate into the language of God or Allah. Rather, you may think, like me, that the divine is an interconnected aspect of all existence. You're entitled to the love that is available to you when you tap into the vastness of the universe. I like to believe that the universe at its best is a presence of great love that wraps us in a blanket of care. When we struggle to love ourselves, this love is still available to us. It is an unending well of love. I asked you to hug yourself because you are part of showering that love in the universe. You deserve to feel it deep within you. There is nothing about you that separates you from this eternal love. Regardless of what the media tells you, regardless of what your family of origin may have taught you, regardless of what oppression may have thrust upon you, you are lovable and deserving of self-love. And so, as we do the work of loving our neighbor, may we also constantly work to love ourselves more fully. You, beloveds, are worthy. Let it be so, and amen. I want to invite you to rise in body or spirit and join together in singing our closing hymn, which I don't remember what it is. Number 6. rest your hands upon your hearts, or clasp hands with those you are sharing your life with during these pandemic times, and hear these words from Omid Safi. Go. Be your best self. Be your most beautiful self. Be your luminous self. Be your most generous self. Be your most radically loving self. And when you fall short of that, as we all do and all have, bounce back and return again. There's a grace in this returning to your luminous self. Go in peace, beloveds.